Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and a huge welcome to today's Postgrad Insights session. Today's session is brought to you by Fresh Accommodation. They're going to be talking to you about the properties that they've got available in Leeds and in Liverpool, as well as what other cities they have properties in and why they are at the heart of those cities. Without waiting too much longer, I'd like to introduce you to Caroline. She is from Fresh. Caroline, if you'd like to come on at this stage, I will be sharing my screen, and when you want me to move on to the next slide, we'll say next slide, please. If anyone has any concerns or questions, please put it in the chat facility or the Q&A facility. Caroline, over to you.
Thank you. Morning all from a very sunny Liverpool. I am Caroline Cannon, a General Manager of Fresh, and I'm joined today by Harley Marshall, who is also a General Manager from the refinery in Leeds. Next slide, please. So today we're going to be telling you what it's like to live with Fresh. And as you can see from this slide, Fresh has won over 30 awards over the past few years, and we're not stopping there. We feel this truly makes us different from the crowd. And as quoted by our COO, our mission is to make students feel like they belong. It is important to us to make sure that our students are living in an environment that creates a home from home feeling, especially all our international students who travel from all over the world. At Fresh, we pride ourselves on feedback we receive from the students and how much they enjoy living with Fresh. Next slide, please. This brings me on to this slide. So every year we all take part in the Global Student Housing Survey. This gives all of our residents the opportunity to engage with us, and we welcome any feedback that we receive. So from this slide, you will see that 87% of our residents gave positive feedback and would recommend us to a friend. We think this is absolutely phenomenal. Next slide, please. So in 2021, 69% of our residents felt like the residents team really cares about their well-being, and this is thanks to our amazing BEAT programme. Harley is going to explain a bit later what that entails. And at Calico, we really embraced the BEAT programme. This made us feel closer and more connected to our residents, as well as creating a fun environment. Next slide, please. You can see from the results from our amazing BEAT programme from this slide that our overall well-being is 12% above the average for all UK private halls. The slide speaks for itself, and this is why we feel Fresh is the place for you. Next slide. So in terms of locations, we have 60 locations in the UK and Ireland. So the chances are wherever you're studying, there will be a Fresh location nearby. And a lot of cities have plenty of choice. So for example, in Liverpool, there's my site, which is Calico. We have 3 other sites, Europa, The Lantern and Benson Yard. So there's a wide range of different sites in each city. We offer a wide range of rooms as well, from studios. Oh, sorry, next slide. So we offer a wide range of rooms, from studios to different size ensuite rooms. All our rooms are spacious, modern, all come with a small double bed, and they normally have a lot of storage underneath as well. And then we have some great size communal shared kitchen and living area, so you can enjoy time with your friends. Next slide. So majority of our buildings come with amazing social spaces. So you can use these to study with friends. Even if you don't live in the building, they can still come and use the social spaces with yourself. So here at Calico, as an example, we have individual study pods. We have a quiet study zone. And we also have a number of private meeting rooms. So if you wanted to take yourself and be in a private room, that's fine. They're always very popular, these study spaces, especially around exam periods. So we see all of the study spaces at full capacity. And we know exam time is really stressful time for all of our residents. So when they're using the study areas, we can provide refreshments and check in on them basically to see if they're okay. Next slide, please. So not only do we offer study spaces, we offer a wide range of social spaces to create a fun environment. So, for example, we have a skyline, we have pool table, ping pong table, we have a cinema room, 2 gyms. So there's a lot for our residents to do on site. We gathered some feedback from our students and they told us they would like to have a yoga room. So we've just introduced a yoga room. And we have 3 yoga classes each week. And this is provided for by us at Fresh. So as a team, we feel like it's important that our residents feel like they're supported and they can come to us at any point of their stay and that they feel safe. Our on-site teams are really friendly. And as I said earlier, our goal is to create a home from home feeling within our building. Majority of our general managers have mental health training. So this helps us identify who needs any extra support. We're always here to help. And if we can't, we can direct them to the right people who can help. So this slide just shows, you know, what a lot of other providers provide as well. So you've got all your bills and your super fast Wi-Fi. But what makes us stand out is our B program, our social events, and our really friendly residents team. This does make us stand out in the shows from all the awards that we have won over the past few years. Next slide, please. So I'm going to pass it over to Harley, who is going to explain our amazing B programme in more detail. And as Gareth said, any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Caroline. So my name's Harley. I'm a general manager at the refinery in Leeds. So I'm just going to take you through what our B Wellbeing programme is. So B Wellbeing programme at Fresh is our resident wellbeing and lifestyle programme. It focuses on creating a sense of community, making our residents feel welcomed, connected and supported throughout their stay. It's something we are really passionate about here at Fresh, and we take a lot of pride in delivering a fun, inclusive programme that really puts our residents at heart. Next slide, please. So each year we create a wellbeing calendar that centres around 4 key pillars. So the first pillar is Be Active. This focuses on our residents' physical well-being and it encourages our residents to stay active, healthy and energised. We've then got Be Connected. So this not only encourages students to get to know their housemates and their residents' teams, but also to get involved with the local community. So this could involve charity work, volunteering, really making a difference in the wider community. And then we've got Be Social. So this is about creating a community within our buildings by our residents teams putting on events that encourage our residents and our students to mix and get to know each other. And then finally, Be Supported, providing students with the support they need during their stay. This could include links to resources, blogs, information and support on what's available for mental health and wellbeing. All our buildings have an open door policy and we encourage students to come and speak with our residents team, whether that's on one-to-one chat, for a cup of tea, or just some advice. These pillars really build the foundation of the wellbeing programme. Next slide, please. So we understand that student welfare and mental health issues are increasingly important. So the main aims of the B programme are to create a sense of community, making sure all our residents feel welcome and connected at all times, to promote inclusivity, making sure every resident feels involved and included, and finally to provide the resources to ensure our residents have a place to go to access resources and any support they need during their time at university. Next slide, please. So here we have an example of this year's Be Wellbeing calendar. So it's a very varied programme to ensure we have something for everyone, and it really encompasses the 4 pillars I've just discussed. Students can get involved in as much or as little as they want. So for example, in September, the main aim of the month is a fresh start. So this is when all our students will be arriving at the property, checking in. We understand it's a very exciting time, but it also can be very daunting for many students. For some, it's their first time away from home. It could be a new city or even a completely new country that they've never visited before. So it's really important for us at Fresh to make sure they feel welcome. And so one of our main events for this month is a welcome party. So we like to get all our students together in our social space, and it's a really great time to make friends, meet people who might be going to your university, studying on your course, but also get to know the residence team. If you need any advice, you've got any issues, if there's anything you're unsure about. We like to try and get to know everyone by name at Fresh as well, so it's a great opportunity to put some of the names to faces that we've had out through our booking system, and we might have spoken to you on the phone. So in February, Love Local is the theme. So this is really about your community and getting out into the city that you're based in. So we host a city scavenger hunt is one of our main events. So this is where we create little clues and a little map around the city for students to go out and be active and get those steps in, and also find new places in their city that they might not realise, local landmarks and things like that. And we also partner with lots of businesses during this month as well, so to try and get discounts for our students. And we do like pop-ups in our accommodations as well, so things like free bubble tea, international food companies and things like that. And then finally, March, one of my favourite months in our B calendar is Grow It Fresh. This is where we encourage students and we provide the materials for our students to grow plants and herbs. So this year at the refinery, we did a sunflower growing competition to see who could get the highest sunflower. So we provide the seeds, and we also encourage students to bring a container or something they could reuse to plant that seed in to promote sustainability as well. So it's a very varied calendar. There's lots to get involved in, and each site does slightly different things to really suit the demographic of their accommodation. Okay, next slide, please. So in order to ensure that we include a lot of different cultures in our Be Wellbeing calendar, we celebrate a lot of different holidays, including Diwali, Thanksgiving, Lunar New Year or Spring Festival. These prove really popular events across all our residents, not only as a time to celebrate, but also a time to learn about different cultures and traditions. So we have at the refinery quite a high number of international Chinese postgraduates. So we really make a big celebration for Lunar New Year or Spring Festival. So we decorate the site in an abundance of red decorations to symbolise good fortune. We also give out traditional red envelopes with some chocolate money. And we also encourage togetherness. So we host events centred around traditional food and getting together and things like that. So and they're always really appreciated by our international students and the effort that our resident teams go to make them feel at home. Next slide, please. So what's also great about Fresh is that we also offer BTR, which is built to rent and co-living within our portfolio. And this really sets us apart from our competition. Next slide, please. So at the moment, we offer accommodation in Cardiff, Exeter and Sheffield, and these are from studios to 2-bedroom apartments. These properties are great if you don't want to live with students and you prefer to have young professionals and families as your neighbours. Well, the buildings are set up very similar to our student portfolio in terms of an accommodation building within a block with communal spaces, including gyms, resident lounges, social kitchens, and even co-working spaces. They offer a more mature living and more independence. All of our BTR buildings have a concierge team on site and 24-hour security as well. Plus, they are pet friendly, so your furry friends are welcome. As I'm sure you'll agree from the photos, they're really stunning buildings offering a new level of luxury. Next slide, please. And in our BTR properties, we've recently launched our Belong programme. So these events aren't as structured as our monthly B programme. They're in the interest of the residents to connect and network with their neighbours and connect with their local community. So Loxley Heights, for example, in Sheffield, has recently had a sushi making class and a cocktail class. Other events may include yoga sessions or pet-friendly events such as dog walking.
To begin with, Harley, I want to elaborate a little bit further on the build to rent and co-living slide that we spoke about, because like you said, that really does set you apart from your competitors in what is a very, very competitive marketplace. Talk to me more about that and how a student goes applying for that, and what they can expect and what information is required from them. Yeah, so
for postgrad students, they do have the option of staying in one of our student buildings, or they can stay in our BTR building as well. So it's really great that they have the option. Some might prefer to stay with students, some might prefer the more mature living that our built to rent offers. So again, the student should go to our website, thisisfresh.com, and they'll be able to view the cities that we have our BTR portfolio in, and they'll be able to find a lot more information about each property through the website. The process is similar to our student portfolios. They might just have to provide a bit more information. They still will need a guarantor, because obviously they're not in full-time employment if they were to apply for one of these buildings. But the best way to find out more information is to go to our website or speak to our fantastic resident teams. As we said, there's still a concierge team on site at our BTR properties, who would be more than happy to give them more information and help them about what facilities that the buildings have.
Excellent. Caroline, if I can bring you in at this point, obviously I believe you're in one of the Liverpool buildings, which is great. Talk to me about how a student should go about choosing where they want to study, because no doubt the location and the property is so important about where they're going to study, where they're going to live for the next year, and if you're an undergrad student, for the next 3 or 4 years potentially. But how important is that, and how can students get a feel of where they're going to live without visiting, perhaps?
Okay, so there's a number of things a student could do when they're looking for their accommodation. So I think the best way is to hear what other students have had to say. So there's websites like Student Crowd, which give reviews on all of the accommodations, all the providers, and you can really see from there what the students are saying about the building. You know, hearing it firsthand is one of the best ways. Also, you could always come to Liverpool, have a look around, check out all of our social medias, because we all post videos and pictures of the accommodation. We also have tours on our website. So if you go onto the location you want to go to, pick the property, and you can see a tour there. So for Calico, all pictures that are on the website are taken within the building. There's no, pictures that are not real. But we're happy to show people around anytime.
For sure. And for international students as well, presumably you give them a bit of a hand-holding service where you'll kind of help them move to the city, show them around, make them feel welcome, all part of that, not part of the Be Wellbeing service, but just part of being with Fresh, I'd imagine. Is that right, Caroline?
Yes, that's correct. My building is like Harley's. So we have around 90% international Chinese students. And for me, these guys have travelled a long way. We really want them to have a good experience. And, the feedback we've had this week, some leaving, going back to their home country, is that they'll miss Calico terribly. They're not coming back because they've finished their studies, and they've recommended us to their friends. And if they're ever in Liverpool, they're going to come back. But there's also the option as well, for students who are abroad, we can do viewings by Teams and, live videos.
And Harley, I want to talk about affordability because, you guys offer a really good service and for me, very affordable as well, given the current climate. But what would you say to those students, not just international, but domestic students as well, that are worried about the cost of living crisis and will perhaps see prices maybe in London and think maybe that's a good barometer to judge it on for the rest of the country. But speaking on behalf of Leeds, would you say it's a much more affordable place to live rather than other major cities, whether it be in the north or the south of England?
Yeah, I think it is definitely a huge concern for both students and parents who are potentially paying for students to attend university, and costs are increasing across everything, and I think it's definitely something to consider when you are choosing a city. I mean, London is inevitably going to be more expensive than the north of the country, but what's great about Fresh Properties is that everything is included in your rent, so it's all-inclusive bills from electric, water, Wi-Fi, and that just really takes the worry out for both domestics and international students, instead of going for a HMO property where you're responsible for your own bills with maybe a group of students you've never met. So it does really take the worry out. And we've also got fantastic facilities on site, so including a gym, which are also included in your rent, so you don't have that additional cost to worry about. So I think when looking at where you want to study in, it's a really good idea to weigh up the cost and look at the accommodation prices. Leeds is probably more reasonable than the London and the south of the country. But like we said, everything has increased now, and I think with bills being so expensive, but the good thing is that it takes the worry out with everything being included for students.
Great places to live as well. And Caroline, I want to give Liverpool the fair crack of the whip there. I think obviously Leeds, great place to live, great place to study, very affordable compared to the Southern City. Very similar to Liverpool, I'd imagine. You live there, you know better than anyone.
Yeah, exactly. As Harley was saying, everything is included. All the social events and everything is all, at our cost. We provide a range. So we have yoga at Calico every week. We pay for the classes and everything. So you do have to weigh up, what each provider and what you get included. And there is no extra cost once you book one of our sites.
Okay, excellent. A couple more questions then. To begin with, at what stage does a student apply? Many students be watching this and go, I really like the idea of that. I'm yet to apply for my master's course. What stage does someone come to you and go, I want to earmark a property, or I want to come and live in one of your properties? Is it before applying, after applying? Do they need help from the university? How does that work? Harley, if I start with you on that one.
Yeah, that's fine. So I think the first thing is, once you've decided on a city, once the students decide on a city that they might want to live in, it's a great decision. It's a great opportunity to have a look what's available within that city, whether that's before or after they've applied for university. And also look at the booking terms and conditions of booking with that property. So all our booking terms and conditions are on our website, and you can also see our cancellation policy on there. So potentially, if you haven't booked or you haven't got your place confirmed yet, you can see if there's a clause in the contract. If you don't get the grades, you don't get onto that clause. If you can cancel your accommodation. I would say accommodation is becoming student accommodation, it's becoming increasingly popular. It does seem to sell out faster and faster every year, so it is a really important consideration when going to university. And I'd say as soon as you've made a decision to get looking and get something booked, and definitely put your feelers out, get in touch with the accommodation and the resident team to find out more information. Obviously each building is different, each provider is different, but certainly look at the information provided and make a decision when the right time to book for you is.
I think it was mentioned in both your presentations as well, but I from what I gather, your properties are all located in very central locations, which is strategic, so that students don't need to worry about having to drive when they're here, for instance, the cost of living, you know, having that added expense on. Is that right? And how important is that again? Because again, not everyone thinks that way. Not all these providers think, let's get in the heart of the city so that we and our students that are in the properties don't need to worry about the next steps. And when they're there, that they have to drive, they have to get a bus pass and so on from there. So is that fair to say that's very important for you? Caroline, if I let you answer that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so for example, in Liverpool, all of our sites, so you've got one that's 2 minutes away from city centre, one that's about 4 minutes away. Myself is about 6 minutes away, and then we have one that's about 10 minutes away. So we've got a range, you know, they're all very close to city centre, all very close to the surrounding universities. And I think this is important as well for students, you know, so they can get into city centre and back home safe without travelling and having, you know, sometimes people may want to walk and stuff like that, but also being on the doorstep of your university.
Excellent. And Harley, just to finish up
in taxis and
sorry, Caroline. Harley, just to wrap up things as well. Talk to me about, you know, from a student's perspective, what help is on offer, because if for whatever reason, you know, they decide that they wanted to stay over the summer holidays or they wanted to stay over the Christmas or Easter period, are the properties all inclusive of those periods of time? And if they're struggling, do they get help? What happens there?
Yeah, definitely. So we offer different contract lengths at each of our different properties. So my property in particular, we offer a 44-week contract, which takes you kind of into early summer. And then we also offer 51-week contracts, which are very popular with our postgraduate students, particularly if you're staying over the summer and you've got to, you know, finish your dissertation, things like that, your studies going for a bit longer. So our residence team on site are available through the day. So our resident office is open from 8 AM till 7 PM, but outside of those hours we have 24-hour security, which is the case with the majority of properties from Fresh. So there is always someone there if you need any support. Our security teams are very friendly, they're part of our teams is how we see it. So and they interact with students, they know a lot about our buildings, so students can go to them as well if they need anything. So it could be a simple thing like they're locked out their room, they've got a maintenance issue, or if they're dealing with something that's troubling them a bit more, our residence teams or security teams are there. Over Christmas, we do continue our big calendar because we appreciate not everyone, especially if you're coming from an international country, not everyone goes home for Christmas. Some people will be staying on site. So we'll try and do some events over Christmas. Sometimes our resident teams aren't about, but we'll still put things on our social media channels. We'll do celebrations in our social spaces and things like that to really make students feel comfortable and still at home during that period where they could feel a bit lonely because they haven't travelled home, they're not with their family for the first time, they're not with friends and things like that.
Excellent. And just to wrap up, one final point as well, Caroline, if I can get you to answer this one. You mentioned that I think you said 80 or 90% of students in the building are Chinese, for instance. If a student, let's say a Chinese, yes, Indian, South Asian student decided that I'm coming to Liverpool and I wanted to, you know, move into one of your properties, can they choose what property they move into? And likewise, can they opt in to have that home from home feel where they've got students from their own nation and their own culture and background living with them? Or they might decide, I've moved to university to kind of expand my life experience and to move away from that. Have they got that option?
Yes, of course. You have your preferences when you're booking with us. So we do see this quite often. We see groups coming in groups of 6. Then we have, you know, other students that say, right, I want a different experience. So I want to live with other people from UK or across the world. I want mixed flat. You know, we ask them what year they would like to be with. There's a lot of things that we can factor in to get the most perfect flat for them. So yeah, it's the choice is theirs really.
Excellent, thank you. Harley, Caroline, huge thank you for your time. It's been really informative. Anybody that's watching this that's missed any of the Q&A at the end or the presentation to begin with, please head over to postgrad.com from tomorrow, where it will be on demand. If anyone's got any questions, please see the screen here. There's options on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok as well, so head on over. But for now, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. Harley, Caroline, thank you. Bye-bye.